Want to see a crushing attack? Do you want to know how to execute a crushing attack? Well, keep watching. It's about time we looked at another Sicilian Kalashnikov, and this game was sent in to me by one of my students, Daryl, who played this blitz game on Chess a couple of months ago. Daryl is English, he is an academic, in fact he's a philosopher, but there's nothing philosophical about this game. It is all action. It's a great example of how to dismantle the Morozzi bind pawn structure, and we're going to see some classic Kalashnikov themes here. Watch out for hammer time, where this b pawn advances to attack white's pawn chain, and the Trojan horse. This is so common in the Kalashnikov, where the knight leaps into the d4 square and opens lines for the rest of black's pieces. It really does have a Trojan flavour to it. And in this game, the consequences are devastating. Remember, if you want more details of the opening, then do check out my book. I'll put the link down below, and also the Chessable course. This game was played on Chess. I'm not going to reveal the handle of the player of the white pieces. Likewise, Daryl is going to remain anonymous, at least anonymous with his online name. So, open Sicilian. And there we go, e5, challenging white straight away. And the best move is knight b5, and that was played. So d6. So this is really the starting point of the Kalashnikov, and white has a choice between playing c4 with a Morozzi bind or knight c3. But in this case, c4 was played. So this is a really ambitious move because it really cramps black. d5, that is often the liberating move that black has in this opening, but that makes it difficult to achieve d5. But there is a big drawback in playing c4. The d4 square is weakened, and we're going to see exactly how black can exploit that in this game. So knight c3. Now that this knight has moved to c3, then this one gets pushed back. So, as is usually the case in the Kalashnikov, one of white's problems is that it takes time for this knight to recycle into the middle. And in the meantime, black carries on with development. So this is, to my mind, the most active and best way of developing here. This bishop often opens up along the long diagonal and also supports the knight coming into d4. So white develops in a very orthodox way, and knight comes to f6. This is the best square, putting pressure on the pawn on e4, and sometimes it even comes to h5. Obviously not at the moment when it can be taken. So knight c2, I think a very natural move. The knight comes back into the middle and covers the d4 square. That's very important, otherwise that knight is going to leap in. But there is a drawback with playing knight c2. The c4 pawn is now a little bit more vulnerable. That can be attacked. So black castles, and castling kingside is the most popular move here. But queen d2 played, and this introduces some interesting ideas actually. This could transpose back into normalish lines, but white also sometimes has the option to castle queenside here actually. Anyway, rook c8 played, and this is the normal move. Well, in most Sicilians, this is the normal move. The rook belongs on the semi-open file, and in this case it can put pressure on the pawn on c4. Now in the book and the course, I covered a crazy line here that went like this. So attacking this pawn and then playing b5, this typical move, And this is madness. So the b pawn is provoked, and now, yeah, it's impossible to block with bishop c4. So black is winning this knight, but, well, black also has to contend with these passed pawns. The computer thinks it's about equal. It's an absolutely mad line. Anyway, it's all very entertaining. But in this case, white played b3, supporting the pawn. This is in many ways very logical. So the knight has moved from a3 to cover d4. So now that c4 pawn needs more protection. The drawback is the white's king is still in the middle, and this is the perfect moment to hit out at white. b5, excellent move. So this immediately puts the board on fire, but white still has to get to safety. Of course, you could just castle here. The problem with that move is that then black can isolate this pawn, and it's going to be very easy to attack. Therefore, white took, very understandable. And Darrell recaptured. And there's already a threat. White is already in some trouble here, actually. So the threat is to advance, attacking the knight, and then knight takes e4. So this is one of the reasons why it's best to put the knight on f6 and not e7. And this is tricky. So white played bishop takes b5. Well, it's understandable. I mean, there are so many options here. You could play knight takes b5, but then knight takes e4, and that's already fantastic for black. Notice how white's center, which was looking very imposing, has completely disappeared, and now it's black that is rolling through the middle. So that didn't happen. Bishop takes b5 played. And now, here we go. We've had the hammer with b5, and now the Trojan horse with knight d4. This is an excellent move. It just opens up the lines. First of all, opens up the c-file. So you can see there are already tactics here. You know, this knight is hanging. The bishop is hanging. The knight is vulnerable. The knight on c2 is vulnerable. So white hasn't got time to escape with the king. So this was taken, and bishop takes d4. So black is now 2 pawns down. Okay, here is where I'd like you to have a think. I'm going to have a drink while you're thinking. So how do you play with black in this position? This is great fun. Do you want to improve your chess? Get access to live masterclasses with yours truly? Then subscribe to patreon.com/PowerPlayChess, and for just $25 a month, you get a newsletter with a test game, calculation puzzles, a monthly opening survey, access to an archive with over 100 opening surveys. And you can join in live masterclasses exclusive to patrons, where you can ask me questions directly over Zoom. All for only $25 per month. Do subscribe to patreon.com/PowerPlayChess and join the club. By the way, one of the other benefits of becoming a patron is that you get access to opening playlists, including a Kalashnikov playlist, so you can very easily access all the Kalashnikov games that I've recorded on the channel. Okay, let's get back to the game. So what did Darrell play here? Well, he crashed in with this typical Sicilian exchange sacrifice. Rook takes c3. Wonderful stuff. So if bishop takes, then knight takes e4 with a very nasty fork. So queen takes, knight takes e4. Again, you can see that white's center has been completely destroyed. Queen b4, the queen has to hang on to the bishop. Bishop takes, queen takes. And here's the point. Queen a5 check. So just in time, black has this very, very unpleasant check. So if the king moves, then, well, basically this bishop is going to be taken. So b4 played, queen takes, and then queen takes knight. So for the moment, black is the exchange down, but white's king is still in the middle. You can see it can't castle. And crucially, it's black's move here. So how would you continue the initiative? This is very, very important. Because, of course, if white manages to consolidate, then white is winning. But there is a very powerful move here. Now, the move Darryl played is good. He played bishop f5 and actually won very quickly. It's too difficult to defend this position. In fact, the best move is bishop c4. So you can see I've pointed out two threats. One is to move the rook to e8 to pin the queen. And the other threat is to play queen takes b4 check, just continuing the attack. And there is absolutely no defense. So, for example, if castle's queenside, well, unsurprisingly, a move like rook c8 is going to leave white's king helpless. So bishop c4 was the best move. Bishop f5 was played, and it's a good move, but there is a miraculous defense here. Incredibly, white can still defend if this move is played. So the queen has to move, and then queen c4, and, well, black has a tremendous initiative, but with best play, the computer tells me that white can survive this position. So that's what white should have done. But remember, it's a blitz game. That wasn't found. Queen d4 played, but then black crashes through with checks. King has to move, queen e2, and queen c2 mate. Tremendous game. Just love the initiative, and I love those classic themes of the hammer with b5. There we go, in that position, breaking down this seemingly very strong centre. In fact, it's quite brittle, as we've seen. And then we had the classic Trojan horse move, knight d4, which is so common in the Kalashnikov. It's very interesting. Once again, if you'd like more details of the opening, then do check out my book and also the Chessable course. Well played, Darryl.